To summarize it, Chair, my opinion, from my experience, not on this particular day, but on a simulation, if I were to simulate coming through a door. My tactical experience doesn't speak to this movement of these members. Because any tactical movement, whether the door is closed or whether the door is ajar or open, person my frame with a bulletproof vest, if I took you, Chair, and we came into a single door, we will run shoulders with rifles in our shoulders to engage a threat. So I had opportunity to read the statements, and that's for the first time I actually get proper insight as to what actually happened on the inside. But for me, from my experience, tactical movement, firstly, I'm going to comment on Metro. They don't have any tactical movement. They don't know house movement. I would not work with any Metro member where he's from the dog unit. He'll end up shooting me from behind.
So they shouldn't have been in that room.
What I'm saying, let's start from the entrance to the flat so we get a clear picture. If the threat, there are 2 NIU members there. Those NIU members do have the experience. There are prerequisites to every house clearance when we're training you. The prerequisite is 7 members to any room. If you got less, we are not to enter. The reason why we're not to enter, if there's a casualty on the state side, then that person leading that group will have to answer, and vice versa. If you look at the amount of rounds the members are counting for what they shot, realistically speaking, if they fired those amount of rounds in such a small area, then I would describe it as an overkill. I don't have copies, or I was not part of seeing post-mortem reports. I have nothing in front of me. I'm speaking of my experience. I'm going to stick to my experience. Again, I use a chair myself going through a normal house door. There is a tactical movement way in which we cut that door. When you're looking down the passage, we call it you're looking at your 180, straight down. So your threat is either ahead of you or was tucked out of your sight. Now, the way these members are saying in the statements they moved, seemed like they were sucking thumb. If that door was ajar and they managed to set foot inside and I was sitting on that couch, I would have eliminated him. Because I would have had sight for them, a sight on him. Because they should, it's either they had intelligence of the whole setup of this flat. Because if I don't know what's on the side of the lounge, you lost sight of the people. That flat's not very big. So hiding spaces, you're going to run around the corner, you're only going to go 2 meters and you can't go anywhere after that. If you're on the balcony, you're 5 floors up. You're going to jump to your death. So I think it's questionable, or proper accountability should have been done in terms of how they entered, who led this entry. You can see they're all speaking about the stun grenade being thrown over. Stun grenade don't come after you start firing your rifle. The stun grenade, that's what has the name stun grenade. It's a pyrotech we use before you even engage or discharge your firearm. You'd see in the statements, and I'm seeing it now not for the first time, the statements were said and I read, and I don't want to study it paid for, but when I read the story, I said, it doesn't sit well with me from my training experience. Because if they were to simulate that dry fire where they're going through, and I left a manigan around the corner, or 4 manigans around the corner, and I stood there, I would have tapped them on the heads with their dry guns and said, listen, you failed. You would have put yourself as a casualty. That account doesn't marry what tactical movement's about.
Is it possibly a function of what you say is they lacked tactical experience? Yes. They should not have been there, some of them. That may well be
highly trained. I'll reiterate it. There's an indictment. Highly trained. When the national intervention's not working, they're simulating. That's what we do. We're simulating all the time. It's like a fireman. When he's not out extinguishing a fire, he's not sleeping on a bed if he's at work. He's simulating, he's busy, he's training. It's the same with tactical movement. We do the movement continuously every day until we go out for operations when we needed to go out on operation. There's no space for an error, when I say an error, because we will come back with a casualty, if we're coming back. But I'm saying the way these statements are made, there are members that are not tactical. In other words, the blind is leading the blind. Let's hypothetically say Pedro or Rodriguez was tactical. He fired so many rounds of a rifle, a R1. R1's high caliber, one round you drop an elephant. You're in a space of less than 4x4, a room. So many rounds. Something is not speaking to whatever happened there, of their statements.
Captain, so you highlighted two things. I want to ask you about a third one. You highlighted the composition of the team and the fact that at least the dog unit and the DPCI constable may not have had the experience. And also, I guess, Javon Lee, the Metro police officer. The second issue you highlighted was how they were supposed to enter the room. But something strange here, because what the statements seem to suggest is that these 5 officers were ambushed, as if the people who were in that room were waiting for them and were already carrying their firearms. Because they are all saying as they entered, the people inside started firing at them. That's what the statements seem to suggest. But then what is odd is that only Captain Rodriguez was hit, and he was hit by the vest. And the reason why you say this is improbable, you said if the scene happened as they say it happened, they would have been shot or they would have been hurt.
That's correct. There would have been a casualty because, again, I start at the door. Machi, I start at the door. The movement shoulder to shoulder. Nobody walks in front of somebody unless you know what you're doing. If you're in front of me, I'll demonstrate it to you. My rifle will be on your shoulder. The next person's rifle will be facing the back because you don't know who's coming from the back. And we will cut this place nicely, as in terms of cuts our corners tactically. I don't demonstrate the whole foot movement, but they will know what I'm talking about. Even if the doors are ajar, there's a way you go into a door. You don't need the person standing behind the door. So, again, what you're saying, you're absolutely right. I'm saying is, even with panic, they would have shot each other up in that narrow space because they fired so many rounds. That means all the shooting happened around the corner.
And Chair has been careful to point out that we are not so much concerned with the shooting and how it happened. The focus of the commission is whether the police have been infiltrated by the gangsters and the drug dealers and other people. So I don't want to go into detail about the shooting itself. But Mr. John, the DPCI officer, when he gave evidence, he talked about the way the victims were lined up. IPID, sorry, did I say DPCI? IPID. The way they were lined up, because you saw them when you entered the flat, what was your impression of how they were lined up? Does it accord with the statement?
The 4 doesn't speak to the shoot. Even if I took the picture that was circulated, the 4, the C's, leave the one that's laying closer in the picture. The 4 around the corner, that's Loftus, Ryan, and the other 2 unknowns to me. It doesn't speak to the shoot. When I say it doesn't speak to the shoot, how does one cut a corner and you find 4 people standing there and you hit them? Now they fired so many rounds. Now if that shot fired missed, they would have hit the walls behind them. Nowhere high up is there one round that missed, where there's damage to the walls high up.
Do you still have file 2 next to you?
Yes, I do.
Just have a look at 699. They don't have to flight it. Having read the statements and the description of what happened, when you look at that photo, is it consistent with what the statements say happened?
Never. Can't be. That's as I saw this when I entered for that few seconds. I saw more. The picture's wider than what's here. But it doesn't speak to it. You shoot someone with a rifle, I'm just saying, or even a pistol, close range. The body positions will never be like that. You get shot with a rifle. We simulated on a shooting range with mannequins. It'll lift you and throw you. Maybe enter and even exit you. There'll be blood splatter all over those walls. So I'm saying on these statements, my opinion is what I read and what I see, for me, it doesn't speak to each other.
You were not there, but in layman's terms, the story as depicted or as set out in the statements does not add up.
Doesn't add up. Firstly, with the amount of rounds they fired. A human being's body it's a big target. When we simulate, we shoot on straight pins. We shoot on matchboxes. We shoot on a 9mm cartridge. It's ridiculous. Useful.
Can I just find out, Captain? I think Mr. John, the first witness, he spoke about a task team which is led by Colonel Dina Govender. Now, these people that you're describing, including the dog unit and the metro police officer, are these part of, to your knowledge, are these part of the task team led by Colonel Govender, or on the day these are randomly put together people are not ordinarily his task team?
I'll answer this two ways, if you allow me to, Commissioner. When I worked Western, I ran the TRT, that's 2017 in Pinetown. Pedro worked in my unit as a dog unit, as a dog handler. So we would attend to cash in transit, business robberies, serious crime. I was wearing a beret, I was TRT with my members. He was dog unit, but he was in that team. He would report to me at times, I would even sign his permit when it expired for his rifle. So that was a task team. The task team, I believe that is there as a task team that is self-made up, unless I shortfall of having knowledge that there is a principal who put a multidisciplinary task team. Because when media publishes this, they speak about a multidisciplinary task team like this is a permanent unit. But if you look at this, you can see there's immobilization of certain people only work with certain people. I don't know if that answers you. Again, if it was Lieutenant Colonel Dina, I don't know, but he's a senior person there, then he's put his team together. So I'm not too sure if his principal, whoever the principal is aware that this is his team. Because if you move in anyway, and from what I've been listening to on the evidence of previous witnesses and what's now come to light, it seems like this team is going all over as a team. So
the same people?
The same people.
Okay, I think that answers my question.
Again, I got a brother at NIU, National Intervention, he's a captain there. And those two members fall under him. And we talk daily. When NIU or TRT members are utilized, yes, they mobilize sometimes against their working hours, but not every time you have the same people. So I don't know, it's like when you get a task team, you have what we call a SAP 15. We fill in all the members' names so we can account. This captain, that warrant officer, that constable, and at the back it says, you inspected by me, you carrying that firearm, so many rounds of ammunition, and we book you on as a task team. Or if this is a thumbsuck task team, where you just say, hey, we got information, we're meeting Bamboti, or we're meeting Merenil Toll, there's people coming on, cashing transit, then they immobilize and there's excitement.
Maybe just let me make sure that I understand your answer. So whether this is an established task team with someone who created it with authority, or this is a made-up team, you are able to say that, are you able to say that this group of people that are in this incident, they in fact move around together? Is that when they do operations or when they do their work? Yes.
I've seen them based at Durban Central. Yes. I've seen them because one of the service from Durban Central, I think he's on secondment. I don't know if he's placed permanent in the DPCI. Dina reports to Durban Central. I've seen him there in the building. Siobhan belongs to Metro. They're in Old Fort Road. They're about 3-4 kilometers away. Pedro belongs to the dog unit. I don't know if it's Durban South or Durban dog units away. So This trust team don't have an office. They meet in the street. They meet under the light. And like I said, I don't know if they have a principal. I haven't looked into the matter to say, Colonel Dina, is this your task team? Who you reporting to?
But they move around together. It's really what I'm trying to establish.
It's very evident because I'm not just from previous witnesses, me being operational commander of Durban since 2021. I've seen them.
Okay.
I mean, I could have been learning with my skills. And I think that's why they didn't even allow me into the scene because he knows I'm the operational commander. I'm not there because of anyone's personal interest. I'm there to see if there's a crime. It came via radio. But I hope I answered it.
No, you have.
There's a big difference, Chair, with task teams. It's task teams either formulated by senior management. You need a multidisciplinary, you need different skills, dog unit, narcotics dog, you know, that type of thing. You need some crowd control, you need tactical people, and you combine this team and you say, go fix the crime up. But this type of team, it's still questions that saying they must answer that.
I am answered. Thank you.
Can I ask a follow-up question? In your experience, the people you've identified in paragraph 24 of your statement, so you have Rodriguez dog unit, you've got Halford, you said it's a DPCI constable, you have Msami NIU, you have Shabalala NIU, you have Lee China Metro Police. I mean, Metro Police are not subs. And then you've got Hawks, although they are part of the subs, they are different units altogether. In your experience, have you ever come across a task team that is made up the way this one looks like it was made up?
No,
because obviously they would be reporting to different commanders.
I will answer you, Chair. I ran task teams from 2010, as I said, from the Brighton Beach task team, all the way right until I exited. I was the operational commander of a task team. I had a minimum of 40 members always under my command, and I worked operationally. I accounted for them every day. They signed what you call a SAP 15. If one was involved with a shoot, IPO was able to ask me for documents, an OB entry, whatever. Now, these guys book on in different places. I don't even know if they book on. I don't know how they report, you're understanding. So, again, to answer you, for me, it's a biryani mix. Is it a team mixed of skills, or is it a team mixed of firepower? And again, I can see error because if I'm a criminal and you're coming through the door and you don't have tactical movement experience, I know on 5 I need to deal with only 2, or I need to deal with 3, because the rest don't have it. You can't be from DPCI and tell me you've been to my range where I trained you how to penetrate the house. You'll stand on the road while the riflemen go in. So I hope I'm answering it. You get a docket carrier. When I ran a task team, I asked the general, please give me 2 detectives where I'm in Richards Bay dealing with a case to sign for those dockets. Our dockets don't get left there. If I'm in Pietermaritzburg, we keep those dockets with our detectives. The detectives will write those dockets up. I will sign it as an officer. It'll go to the respective courts or the magisterial district. There's control and there's command. But now if you have like DPCI and you're wide, obviously there's a docket carrier there. There's a task team leader, and the rest are riflemen. So I hope that answers. Like I say, I don't know how they formed.
Yeah, it does. I had a question unrelated, but it's been bugging me the whole day. In a different stream where we were dealing with drugs and drug busts, certain members of the force, whether they're the Hawks or subs, found themselves at a scene of a bust. And they were questioned about their inquiry number because it was suggested that for them to be present at that scene, an inquiry must have been opened. I'm trying to understand whether in KZN, and specifically this scene, that would have been a requirement. For a team like this to go to that flat to conduct whatever operation they were conducting, would they have been required to have an inquiry number? Or could they just get a tip-off and go there and do whatever they did?
Let's answer on the drug first one, Chair. On drugs found abandoned or seized, you open an inquiry because it's subject to an investigation to track and trace the person linked to it. The inquiry gets registered like a docket, and the person, if a detective, must be a detective, whether you're the Hawks, DPCI, or a local station detective, you'll be assigned to carry your inquiry. And then you got to pay attention in all the forensics, moving it to the lab to be tested, to see if it's drugs and whatever. With regards to the other part, I haven't heard of an inquiry being opened when you're pursuing suspects allegedly wanted for let's just say serious violent crimes. They should have been having dockets, J50s, etc. You cannot act impulsively. Yes, information comes through informant networks, but then once you have the informer's going to Cape Town and he's on a bus, you can still apply for the documents. Because you don't have to walk in physically into the court, you can make a phone call and you can get the necessary documents. So I don't know if that's been followed. I don't accredit whoever's overseeing carrying whatever. Or if there's nothing they're carrying, then I think there's questions to answer there. Yes, information comes through informer networks, but then once you have the informer's going to Cape Town and he's on a bus, you can still apply for the documents. Because you don't have to walk in physically into the court, you can make a phone call and you can get the necessary documents. So I don't know if that's been followed. I don't accredit whoever's overseeing carrying whatever. Or if there's nothing they're carrying, then I think there's questions to answer there.
You have a docket and a docket number, even when there's no identifiable complainant?
No. Unless there's a state case open. A state case means there's a complainant. There'll be state as per Captain Houston, SAPS, Durban Central. Then say I recovered a AK-47. That refers you, Chair, to the inquiry now. Okay. So I'm registering it saying, I'm going to do touch DNA on it, and I've got an informer saying it belongs to Joe Slovo, and I'm going to start checking him. And after I get all my statements, I apply for J50 and I check Joe Slovo. But there's no docket that can have no complainant, whether the elements of the crime is there. And the complainant himself doesn't have to be, let's just say, the victim. You can open a case on behalf of a person.
Thank you.